Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Chantel, and today I'm going to be talking about some movies again. Um, Very exciting. Though first of all, I did get new glasses today. I think they're really cute. Yay. Exciting. But I'm kind of getting used to them still, so if I fidget with them a little bit, not that I don't usually fidget with my glasses anyway, but in case I do, or if you notice a difference, that's why. Yay, new glasses. But yeah, today I want to talk about some movies again. Today I want to talk about not some recent releases, but I want to just sort of, I don't know, talk a little bit about some of the films that I own that are in the Criterion collection. So if you don't know about Criterion, they're a company that their purpose is to sort of make available artistically significant cinema from around the world on home video release, on DVD, Blu-ray, recently 4K Blu-ray they've started doing. They've existed since, I want to say, the 90s, doing this, and so they have I think they're probably approaching 2,000 films in their collection right now. It's certainly over 1,000 at this point. And every month they add new titles to the collection. They also have a streaming service, the Criterion channel, that's been around for 5 years. I think they just did their sort of 5-year anniversary of the Criterion channel. The Criterion channel is one of the best, if not the best, streaming services out there, by the way. If you like movies at all, and if you're at all interested in world cinema or older films, then like the Criterion channel is a really, really, really good service to subscribe to. They have some really great curated collections that come and go every month. They do lots of really eclectic things. They bring in lots of really interesting titles, and they do lots of commentaries and interviews that they put up on there. They also recently started a Criterion 24/7 channel, which literally is it just plays Criterion movies all the time, so you can just switch to it if you are in a situation where you don't know what to watch or whatever. You can just pop that on and watch whatever happens to be playing, which is really fun. Anyway, so yeah, I don't have a huge personal collection of Criterion titles, but I do have some, and I just felt like talking about some of like my favorites or some of the standouts of the ones that I personally own. They're not cheap to buy from a Criterion collection, but they do regularly have sales. So usually when there's a sale, I try to pick up something when it's on sale. It's just one of those things where it's like you want all of them, but obviously money is tight. But also, I just think it's important, especially when it comes to film and television, if you can possibly own it in physical form, it's a good idea to, just because media ownership, particularly in the United States, is really messed up right now, and the giant billion-dollar corporations that own the vast majority of the media in this country are perfectly willing to take it away from us. So while it's nice to have like thousands and thousands and thousands of things available on these streaming services, there's a lot of really good stuff that they are pointedly not making available to us. And even if you purchase something digitally, they can and will take it away from you, because and if you purchase something on a physical disc like this, they can't take it from you, right? Like, nobody's gonna come to my house and take away my copy of Breathless by Godard because I own this. So as long as it is still, viable, I own it, and this is my copy of Breathless, and nobody can take it from me. So yeah, if there's a movie you really like or TV show you really like, and it is available to purchase on Blu-ray or DVD or whatever other physical media is available, I highly recommend you do it if you possibly can. I understand in our capitalist hellscape that can sometimes be a difficult proposition, but it is, it just makes good sense, frankly. Like, yeah, for instance, just this week, you know, we find out that there are no plans, for instance, to put out Scorsese's latest movie, Killers of the Flower Moon, on any physical media release, which is crazy. That's insane to me. I can't believe it. And if I were Scorsese, I would be dumping my own money into producing a physical copy for purchase of Killers of the Flower Moon. Like, I'd be doing that shit myself, putting it out there, because, yeah, I mean, Scorsese of all people should, he completely understands the value and the importance of film preservation. I know it's hard to imagine in our sort of digital age, the idea of losing something forever, but a lot of films have, in fact, been lost forever. And we will probably never, ever find them because they were destroyed, and for various reasons, either accidentally or intentionally. A lot of films were intentionally destroyed because in the early days of film, they were considered kind of a throwaway type object, and so they would just, when they sort of wore out, the original film stock would just be destroyed. So we've actually lost a lot of movies that way. And we're kind of even in this sort of digital age of the cloud and archiving everything on the internet. Again, like I said, there's like 5 or 6 enormous corporations that control most of the media in this country, and it's not a good situation, frankly, to be in. So that's my plug for not just the Criterion collection, but like just physical media in general. Physical media is good. If you can afford it, if you can get your hands on it, it's definitely a good thing to do, especially for film and television, because we live in a precarious world, and film and television is very ephemeral. So anyway, but what I wanted to do in this specific video was to talk about some of the titles that I personally own that are part of the Criterion collection. And yeah, the first few films I want to talk about are just sort of, these are films that they get talked about a lot, frankly, in not just in film school, but just in general as part of the zeitgeist, as part of the culture, and are sort of well understood to be quote unquote important films. And they are, and I'm the kind of person that I'm never going to say, here's a list of films that everybody should watch before you die or whatever. I think you should watch the films that you want to watch and don't worry about the rest. However, if you are someone who is interested in learning more about filmmaking and understanding the history of filmmaking and just having more insight into the art and craft of filmmaking and just appreciating it as an art and a craft, there's good reasons why these first few films are often cited as being so important, right? And also, frankly, they are just good. So yeah, Breathless by Godard is one of them. Jean-Luc Godard was he's sort of at the forefront of the French New Wave. If you're not familiar with the French New Wave is the set of this group of filmmakers in the 50s and 60s, primarily in France, mostly, who sort of took a lot of influence from American films of the 40s, and revitalized it, brought it into their modern day, added their own sort of more fresh, modern sensibility to it, and made something very unique and interesting. And Breathless is sort of the example of the French New Wave. But I will say, this is also just a fun movie. Like, it's just really fun. Watching it today, this is one of those films that, like, it was very new when it first came out. No one had ever seen anything like it. Nowadays, of course, because it has had so many imitators and so many people have picked up on its stylistic flourishes and used them, that it's become, to modernize, it's not nearly as fresh as it used to be. But, like, if you watch it on the understanding that, like, this is the first movie that really did a lot of jump cuts. This is one of the first movies that really did a lot of really crazy editing things that are now, again, they're kind of de rigueur nowadays. But this is the first one that did a lot of those things. And if you understand that going into it, then you can kind of understand what is going on with this. But also, it is just super fun. He takes a lot of inspiration from, like, old Westerns and old film noir. Godard was a big fan of film noir. And a big fan of, like, Humphrey Bogart and those kinds of things. He was, he had a lot of things that he wanted to do and to say, and but Breathless is just, it's short too, so it goes by really quick. The editing is very fast paced, so it's a really enjoyable film. So yeah, again, generally I recommend it. Yeah, that's Breathless. Another one that gets talked about a lot, that's also French, but this is earlier than Breathless, is The Rules of the Game, directed by Jean Renoir. So this is one of my favorite movies ever, frankly. When I was if you'd asked me, like, maybe 10 years ago, like, what my top 5 films are of all time, Rules of the Game would probably easily be in that list. I'm not sure if it still would be in my top 5, but it's definitely in my top 10. So this film was released in 1939, and kind of, in order to understand the importance of this film, you have to understand, the political situation in France in 1939, right before the Nazis invaded. Because this film is a sharp satire of the French aristocracy as the war loomed. So ostensibly, the plot of this is basically a weekend, like a weekend house party at, like, a manor house of a wealthy French aristocrat. And so it's just all these rich French people, like, going hunting and putting on masquerades. But everything in this movie is a visual metaphor for the approach of the Nazis, right? This movie was immediately panned on its release in 1939, mostly because the French people really didn't like seeing themselves in a mirror. And of course the Nazis banned it and tried to destroy it, and it was almost lost for quite a while. We had it only in a very sort of cut up state, I guess. It was not in a good state for quite a while, and then some more copies of it were found, I think, in the 60s, and it was sort of reconstructed based on, like, Renoir's own memories and ideas of what he wanted to do with it. And so we're lucky to actually still have this film. It's a really good film. It's really a sharp satire. It's very unforgiving of pretty much everybody, of all of its characters. Nobody in this movie is very good or very nice, and they're all kind of sitting there with their heads in the sand while this horrible thing looms. But it's a really remarkable film. And then I can't do a video like this without at least mentioning Citizen Kane. This is the Criterion 4K Blu-ray release of Citizen Kane. This was a really great edition of it. I will say every single Criterion edition film, they come with wonderful, like, booklets with, like, essays in them. There's usually at least one essay written by a film scholar. And yeah, obviously some of the special edition stuff can be really, really nice. But all of them do come with, like, yeah, with, like, essays and stuff in them, and usually beautiful photos as well. But yeah, I mean, look, there's a lot to say about Citizen Kane. A lot has been said about Citizen Kane. I don't know that I need to say much more, except to say that, like, there's an impression I think that people have about Citizen Kane, that because so many, like, film scholars and hoity-toity film people think it's, like, the best movie ever made, that it's, like, also not a particularly entertaining movie, and that's not true at all. It's actually super, super entertaining. Kane is a really, really, really compelling character. And Orson Welles is, like, unbelievably cool to watch. Like, when Orson Welles is cooking, he's cooking, and he is really cooking in this. This is his first feature film. He was, like, 25 when he made this movie. He's amazing in it, like, unbelievably amazing. Obviously, like, everybody knows this is a very thinly veiled sort of biographical portrait of essentially William Randolph Hearst. But also, Kane has a lot of relevance today. I think he can come across as very Trumpy at times. I think it's super relevant, super fresh. So, like, don't be intimidated, I would say, by people who, like, revere these films, because, like, this is actually, like, a rip-roaring good movie. Like, it's like, you will be into this, I promise. It is not boring. It is not, like, above your head. It's not subtle. It's not it's not super, like, artsy fartsy. It's not, like, it's a really good movie. It is just a really good movie. So those are, like, the classics, right? I have some others here that I think are just, like, really good movies. I think if there's anything that connects any of these, all of these movies for me, it's that I think they're all in some ways quite romantic and or sexy, I would say. So this is another one that I still just have on DVD. I should at some point, if I can, get it on Blu-ray, possibly. But this is Jean Cocteau's Beauty and the Beast. It's a really beautiful, often very abstract fairy tale. It's a classic fantasy story, classic romance. It's my favorite version of Beauty and the Beast, and that's saying something, because I also really, really like the Disney animated version. But this is a really beautiful film and very romantic. And yeah, it has a very ethereal fairy tale quality to it. There's lots of really fun, abstract things going on here. It's very expressionist at times. It's really great. Highly recommend. I do have some stuff here that's not super old, I promise. Including this film, which is Mississippi Masala, directed by Mira Nair. Mira Nair is a Indian-American director, and this is from 1991. This is the sexiest that Denzel Washington has ever been in a movie, ever. So yeah, this is a romantic drama about the main heroine she's the daughter of Indian immigrants, and she falls in love with Denzel Washington's character, and because, of course, she's Indian, he's black, their families don't really like this, right? So it creates a lot of tension between their families, because they fall in love with each other. But yeah, there's some really, really sexy scenes in this. I would not, like, it's not sex scenes per se, but, like, sexy scenes, right? Like, moments that are just, like, really just sexy. And yeah, it's really good. It's a really good movie. Highly recommend it. Again, very romantic. Another one that is extremely romantic and I think often extremely sexy and is also from the early 90s is The Piano by Jane Campion. This is my favorite Jane Campion film by a long mile. I did like The Power of the Dog. That was pretty good. But this one is really good. Like, this is so good. I don't really know what else to say about this. It's a period piece. It's set in New Zealand, I believe. Yeah, Holly Hunter is incredible in this. Yeah. Holly Hunter and Harvey Keitel have just an absolutely crackling chemistry in this film. It's amazing to watch. And it's an absolutely gorgeous movie. And this particular transfer of it is director approved. Jane Campion has worked with Criterion several times on several of her films to release them on Blu-ray and 4K Blu-ray. So this transfer is extremely good. Highly recommend. To move more into back to some older films and more comedic range, here's my wonderful copy of The Wonderful His Girl Friday, directed by Howard Hawks. I don't know that anything much really needs to be said about this. Cary Grant and Rosalind Russell at their absolute finest in one of the best romantic comedies ever put to film. There's a few from the 30s that I think might be better than this, but not very many. His Girl Friday is one of the best. This one also comes with, this is actually 2 movies in this, because this actually comes with the earlier film, The Front Page, which is what this movie is based on. The Front Page is actually not a romantic comedy. The whole thing of His Girl Friday is that Howard Hawks basically took The Front Page and was like, what if I gender swapped one of the leads and made it into a romantic comedy about a divorced couple? So it's really interesting to watch both of them as a double feature and see like where the differences lie. But yeah, I don't even know what to tell you. If you haven't seen this film, like, it's so fun. Just watch this movie. It's so fun. One of my most recent additions to my collection, just a few months ago, is Wings of Desire, directed by Wim Wenders. This is an absolutely gorgeous movie. I love Wim Wenders. He's one of my favorite directors. In fact, I recently saw his most recent film, Perfect Days, which is also incredible. Watch it if you possibly can. But this is a beautiful film shot in Berlin just a couple of years before the Berlin Wall fell. And it is quite literally about an angel who falls in love with a young woman who's, if I recall correctly, she's a circus performer. And it's absolutely amazing. This is another director approved one. Wim Wenders works with Criterion Collection to put these out. In fact, Perfect Days is going to get a Criterion release in a couple of months, which I'm very excited for. I might actually buy that one at full price because I want to own it. But yeah, this is a very good movie. Yeah, and this one is the 4K Blu-ray restoration of this film. Yeah, it's this is one of those movies that it's hard to describe. You just kind of have to watch it and see it for yourself in order to understand, even try to understand what it's doing. Wim Wenders is such an astute observer of humanity, and also he's so compassionate, I think, about humans and human life and just the vagaries of everyday human existence. It's wonderful to watch, and it makes his movies just absolutely beautiful. Highly recommend. Because this list is pretty Euro heavy and American heavy, I definitely did want to put in a plug for In the Mood for Love, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. It's directed by Wong Kar-wai, who's a Hong Kong based filmmaker. This is from, I think, 2000. This is very much a romantic movie about yearning and the beauty of yearning and the wonder that can arise from just a simple touch of a hand, or the way that someone can look at you, and the way that, you know, you can just sort of bump into each other on accident and make connections with other people. It's incredible. Love this movie. Wong Kar-wai is a great filmmaker. If you've never tried any of his stuff, this one is really good. Chungking Express is really good. Yeah. Wong Kar-wai is a really great filmmaker. And also, this is finally my last mention is this edition of Franco Zeffirelli's production of Romeo and Juliet from 1968, I want to say. Yeah, 1968. It's beautiful, it's sexy, it's romantic, lush Technicolor. Gorgeous costumes. This is, you know, one of the greatest Shakespeare adaptations ever committed to film. Though I do also really like Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet. I have to admit that. It's kind of a toss-up for me whether this one or Baz Luhrmann's is my favorite Romeo and Juliet. This is very erotic. It's very much about young people. This is definitely a period piece with lush period costumes, and a lush score. It's really gorgeous. Highly recommend. So yeah, those are some films that I think are particularly romantic and or sexy, that I happen to own, that also happen to be in the Criterion collection. I do really like romantic movies. I have a few others. Again, like I said, this is not all of the movies that I have that are Criterion films. But this is a good number of them. And yeah, I don't know. Have you seen any of these films before? Do you have opinions about any of these films? Do you have any other Criterion films that you particularly like? What's your favorite old movie? Also, like, I don't, you know, I don't like to be sort of feel like I'm being pushy or anything, but like in general, I feel like don't be afraid of films that are in black and white. Don't be afraid of films that have subtitles. You know, there's a whole wide world of filmmaking. There's so many movies that have been made in the past, and that are being made all over the world that are really interesting. If you're just willing to step out of your comfort zone once in a while and try something new and different. Highly recommend it. Expand your horizons. Talk to me about movies in the comments below, and yeah, like, subscribe, whatever, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.